Hello everyone, amateur meteorologist. First in weather here. It is December 15th, 2020, and we are on the eve of a very impactful snowstorm that's going to hit the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and particularly in the northeastern region of the country. We could really see some impressive snowfall totals for the month of December, and it has been a while, certainly, since we've seen an impactful East Coast snowstorm, especially in the Northeast. It's been quite a bit. And initially, it was looking like DC and some of the lower Mid-Atlantic states could get some pretty good snows, but unfortunately for those weather weenies and snow lovers in those regions, if you're along and east of I-95, it just really does not look that favorable for this storm, and that's because of the very large amounts of mild air intrusion, and that's going to be causing some very warm temperatures, relatively speaking, up aloft, and that's going to cause sleet, freezing rain, and maybe even just plain rain as far north as DC for the majority of the storm. And so that's definitely a big damper because earlier this week it was looking like maybe 5 to 10 inches of snow, maybe even as far east as DC. But that the consensus now has shifted. I do, however, want to point out that the models are notorious for having a bias to erode the high pressure system to the north far quicker than what actually verifies. And so there is certainly a potential that we do see places like DC, Charlottesville, Loudoun County, Fairfax, those areas hang on to the colder air at the beginning much longer, and that would mean I would think more significant ice. I don't think we're gonna see a prolonged period of snow, but I do think we could see a longer period of ice than expected. So we won't really see too much rain maybe in DC. I think you might see maybe a couple, maybe even 3-4 hours of freezing rain. And that would also be just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than snow. So let's get right into the video. This is just going to be a one-slide presentation, my final snowfall map for Wednesday and Thursday. And you can see quite clearly that my jackpot is right here in central and eastern PA. This includes State College, University of Penn State, and Scranton, and also counties northwest of Philadelphia. And I think if you're inside this purple region, 14 to 20 inches is a good bet. Many locations will see isolated totals of 24 inches, and if particularly in areas that are a bit higher in elevation, and that really get caught in those heavy snow bands. Because tomorrow we could see snow bands about 3-4 inches an hour in spots, because there's just going to be incredible lift in some parts of the state of Pennsylvania, particularly in the central portions and east, where you could just be seeing an atmosphere supporting some insanely heavy snowfall rates. And you can see this area of purple extends from central and eastern and northeastern PA into the southern part of New York, the northwestern portion of Connecticut, and also into the southern portion of Massachusetts. Now, surrounding this in this red region, I think 10 to 16 inches is a good bet. This includes far northwestern New Jersey, just north of New York, central Connecticut, northwest of that 14 to 20 inch zone in Pennsylvania, and also western Maryland. And I think this also will include the far western suburbs of DC. We're talking places like Winchester, places even further northwest in Stanton, Virginia. So the far extreme northwestern portions of Virginia, and then eastern portions of West Virginia. Now in this broad region right here, in this orange region, 4 to 8 inches is likely. Some areas will see 4. Some areas will really be creeping up to that 7 or 8 inch mark. And this is going to be stretching down from eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, central West Virginia, far western and southern Virginia, and then stretching northeastward into Charlottesville, or just west of Charlottesville, west of DC, west of Baltimore. So I think Baltimore will also be in that 2 to 5 inch zone. DC will be in that 1 to 3-ish, 1 to 4-ish zone, right through that blue line right here. And then that 4 to 8 in this orange region stretches through New Jersey and then into the southern shoreline of Connecticut. Now, just to the east of that, in this blue region, is the 2 to 5 zone. So this is further west of the 4 to 8. This includes places like Roanoke, or areas just to the west, then west of or right along or west of Charlottesville right here. I think Charlottesville will be seeing primarily just freezing rain. There'll be just a quick burst of snow, but the suburbs to the west of Charlottesville could see 2 to 5 inches. And then if you get lucky, Loudoun County, Fairfax could see 2 to 5 inches. They'll be west of D.C. Same for Baltimore. I think Baltimore might end up on the 4 to 6 region because they're right in between the 4 to 8 and the 2 to 5. So they might end up, western areas might see a little more than the eastern areas. And then this goes through New Jersey. One thing I do want to point out is there is going to be an exceptionally strong gradient from almost 2 inches of snow to 18 inches, a gradient of about 50 miles. It's going to be a very, very sharp cutoff between rain, freezing rain, sleet, and then exceptionally heavy snow. And you can see that occurring in New Jersey. Look at this. You have central areas and to the south seeing all rain, but then just 20 miles to the north, very heavy snow. So this is very difficult to forecast. And keep in mind, based on the temperatures you see tomorrow morning and the conditions you see throughout the day, that will have a huge impact on how much snow you really do end up seeing. And it's going to be a very tight gradient that runs right through I-95. So if you're along I-95, it really is not looking too good. Areas mostly along I-81 and in the interior portions of New England and the Mid-Atlantic have the best chance of seeing very heavy snows. If you're along I-95, places like Richmond, D.C., Philadelphia, New York even, you're going to be seeing more of a mixed bag. An initial onset of snow quickly changing over to sleet and then freezing rain and maybe even plain rain for D.C. and Baltimore even for a little bit. So that just goes to show this is going to be a very messy and sloppy system for these cities along I-95. It takes about 20 to 30 miles inland to really get into that pure fluffy snow, and that's going to be in areas that are less populated. So all the major cities are going to be seeing a mixed bag sort of south of New York. This includes Washington, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. And I think that's why snow totals will be capped in those areas because you're right along the fall line. For example, Philadelphia, you're right here. You're going to be right between the 2 to 5 and 4 to 8. So it's going to be a very sharp gradient between the eastern suburbs and the western suburbs of the city because you could have about a 5 to 10 inch snow difference over just 20 miles or even 10 miles. So that just goes to show how exceptionally hard this is to forecast. And then finally in this blue region right here, this light blue right here, I think 0 to 1 inches, most likely 0 or to a coating to half an inch, and then some areas close to the blue could end up with an inch of snowfall. And then finally to the east of this green line, I think mostly, if not all rain, you could see maybe in half an hour at most of sleet or freezing rain at the onset, but then a quick changeover to heavy rain for the system. This includes cities like Richmond, its surrounding counties, Chesapeake, Chesapeake Bay, Norfolk, all of Delaware basically, eastern North Carolina, basically seeing all rain. And then finally, before I wrap up this video, this area in pink, right? Because of that mild air intrusion and the southwestward or the western track of the system, you're going to have a lot of very favorable sleet and freezing rain soundings because of that mild air intrusion and also that very strong cold air damming. So you're going to have cold air at the surface and then warmer temperatures just about 5,000 feet aloft. And that's going to create a lot of sleet and freezing rain in some of these higher elevation areas that are surrounded by the Appalachian Mountains. So this includes Roanoke, Blacksburg, western North Carolina, up through Charlottesville. I think this corridor in pink could see some significant icing ranging from a glaze, maybe even to half an inch of ice in the higher elevated surfaces and areas. And I think this could be a significant problem for the roads. You might not be seeing a big snowstorm by any means, but you will be seeing some very damaging ice in some spots. Now, keep in mind, not everyone in this pink will get a lot of ice. You might just get a glaze or a coating of ice. But some areas will be seeing very large ice totals, maybe even half an inch of ice in some spots. And that's crippling. That is very damaging to trees, cause a lot of accidents, maybe even more so than snow. So this is definitely something to watch. If you're in this pink area, you need to be mindful of the ice risk with this system. And I really think we could be seeing a prolonged period. We're talking 5, 6, maybe even 7 hours of just constant freezing rain. And that quickly adds up because that high pressure is not retreating. It's going to be funneling in cold air, and that milder intrusion from the system is going to be creating a perfect storm of ice, essentially. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. A big snowstorm looking likely for central PA, eastern PA, extreme northwestern Virginia, eastern West Virginia, and then north into southern New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Unfortunately, a little bit of a miss for I-95. It's not looking really too good as it once was, but still might see a few hours of some steady snow, and just enjoy that for what it's worth. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.